joint channel here over at SubStars are now over at Buy Me a Coffee. Thanks everyone over there. So I just noticed this. It's kind of interesting how the left does this thing where they firmly define some words, and then when they want to be a little ambiguous with them, they have no problem doing that as well, where they're saying custodians can be any gender. I thought, wait a minute. Okay, so you're talking about like they're males, which I don't have to say biological males. There's only male. So they're males, they're men. And then according to the left, that concept of gender deals with not with language or not with sex so much as a identification. Like ultimately it's meaningless because it doesn't add to or detract from anything. It's just someone's internal feeling of how they express themselves. It's like, okay, but you're still biological male or female. That doesn't change anything. It seems kind of weird that it's unnecessary to bring it up. Like bring it up to your prospective partner or something like that. That might be interesting. But like the way kids are they, them, and all this kind of like that doesn't mean anything. This is a fad. This is like the flower bloom. It's happened before throughout. No. Even though it's happened historically a lot, often, this is different. But they said the same. It's like global warming, global cooling. Yeah, for the past 200 years, they've made predictions, and every single prediction's been wrong. In fact, like Al Gore's predictions from like 25 years ago have been wrong in his lifetime. No. But these new predictions are correct. And I go, like, you have a PhD in atmospheric physics or geology, geophysics? No, I trust the science. No, you trust the scientists. Don't trust the science. Yeah, for sure. Don't never trust the scientists because they're getting paid by Pfizer. Anyway, Warhammer, send Bobs and Vagina edition. So everything woke turns to crap. We love women. We love vagina. We're definitely boob appreciators. But men aren't women. And not all things have to be for all people. That's a left-wing concept, and it's really stupid, where they have to put cultural Bolshevik themes into everything to destroy order to the point of absurdity, where the idea, the point, the conclusion, the goal of the story is subverted, where they tie themselves into knots, and you look at the motives for the characters, and suddenly to be woke, they've taken the motives away. And you go, well, that's the driving element for the story. Ultimately, on a lot of base stories, the undercurrent is, well, man chasing tail. Young man goes off to rescue the virginal princess, something like that. It's like that you're not going to expressly say that in the Hans Christian Andersen or Grimm Brothers store, that he's just trying to mate, essentially. But, that is the point of these stories. So this is a Warhammer respond to some soy boy pussycock responds to gamer outcry about including female characters when in the lore itself it says they're men, and they go, oh, we're gonna retcon that. Okay, but I mean it literally, like, they're just gaslighting you when they say there's always been females, and they go back to this document you'll see in a second. It says all the men had to stay on Earth. So the point of everything is to subvert things. Something like the classic guy goes on the adventure to rescue the virgin from the dragon. This is triggering to the blue-haired, nose-ringed, obese left wing. Is something about the patriarchy. So they try to do their own stupid stories, and the girl, what was it? Was it Deadbeats? Who's that fat cosplayer chick? She was a Comicsgate. Renfamous, I think, wrote one of the comics, the collection of the stupidest comics you'd ever imagine, which is like Welcome to Left Wing Comics. So when they try to do political comics, it's so heavy-handed. And what is this wall of text? Who was that chick who was in Game of Thrones? She wrote a comic called Moms. It was a trilogy, and it's just, you open it, and it's just her and her vagina and PMS and the magic powers of women, but it's just word balloon after word balloon after word balloon in like 3-point font or something. So they try to do their own stupid stories, and the girl is a proud whore, and she doesn't need to be rescued, and the man is just along for the ride. In fact, it's the woman who actually goes into battle. If you saw some of the Star Wars streaming shows, Andor might have been an example. Pretty much any of the Star Wars streaming shows, you're going to see women in these roles, which is probably why those shows are absolutely tanking. So it's the woman who goes into to battle the dragon, except the dragon is an indigenous, endangered, marginalized, trans, otherkin, whatever. So she can't go fight the goblins and orcs because they are, well, let's just say we all know what they represent. Ask J.K. Rowling about that symbolism there. That I think it was the first J.K. Rowling movie, which I saw part of. Great books. I have yet to go back and watch all the movies. So a little bit on the nose with that symbolism. How did that make it past editing? And the Star Wars prequel, I saw that in the theater with my buddy, and we both walk out of there, and he's pointing out the flying guy with the very interested in driving a good bargain. And I say, yeah, I noticed that a little bit. I thought that was on the nose. And then I noticed that the Rastafarian guy, it's like it was just a little odd is all. It wasn't, I mean, that was what, the 90s? It wasn't, like, people weren't going to whine about it too much. It was like, that's interesting is all. It's like, I expected Lucas to be maybe a little bit more subtle about that. And then because we weren't appreciative enough about Lucas returning the Jedi of all those prequel trilogies, he fucking sold it to Disney for $4 billion. It's like, hey, fans, you guys didn't blow me off hard enough. It's like, oh, I guess that was our fault. What, you want us to lie to you about? I mean, the reasons the original Star Wars, A New Hope and Return of the Jedi were so much better than New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, were because he had a lot of other people. I think his first wife was doing this thing on Empire Strikes Back, which is why people mostly consider it to be the best Star Wars. And Return of the Jedi felt like you just did this to sell toys and to make literally billions of dollars. George Lucas needed a lot of oversight. Anyway, so she's got to, the girl's got to go fight the dark evil knight, except that dark is problematic because that's coded, obviously. So she has to fight the blonde, blue-haired, blue-eyed evil Chad out of, Aryan Central Casting, who in the normal story would be the hero of the story because it's a European-based story. And white people are awesome, obviously. It's weird that I even have to say that. We created this type of story universe, but the woke destroy storytelling because they have outgroup preferences. So their narratives don't make sense. Most storytelling is, as I said, the guy chasing tail, or the tribe fighting the exterior. Or was it Sleeping Beauty? It goes to kiss the sleeping princess. Yeah, kiss her where? The tribe fighting the exterior threat, but globalists are firmly pulling the strings in publishing now and media, anything that deals with storytelling across whatever media format. So now the orcs are marginalized, depressed analogs of some group I probably shouldn't name, who live rich, full lives of rape and cannibalism, and you're a Nazi if you don't respect their shit culture, instead of just being honest and admitting that all ethnicities are not equal. Like, for example, the raping cannibals are actually evil. No. Don't say ethnicity or race, say culture. Well, that's just penultimate because it's all downstream from hardware. Software is downstream from hardware. Culture is downstream from the architecture. But that makes us feel uncomfortable because you've been brainwashed by globalist media your entire life. It's important to start saying the things that you're not supposed to say because that pushes the window to the right, which we need to step on the gas. But the left has to excuse any behavior that is not white because they've been brainwashed by media propaganda because they want to fit in with the narrative where we have, thank God, a higher disagreeability index. So we just can use racial slurs as a convenient shortcut to accurately describe things. So part of subversion is putting females in male roles. And I guess the inverse as well. Barbie, that movie with Margot Robbie, had the inverse of putting females. But it kills the story because of the incongruence of biological reality. Because men go off to war, or men go off to put themselves at risk, and women stay home to raise the kids. Because men are better at warfare, obviously, but also they can't carry a child and breastfeed. But and because men are biologically expendable. Because one bull can cover several cows a night and rebuild the population of a tribe in one generation if they had to. If young, fertile women go off to fight, then the tribe dies. Hey, Ukraine, there's nothing to fight for. It doesn't make the globalists want the young women to go off and into a meat grinder. There's nothing to fight for, and then they want to replace the people with third world people. Is that Zelensky? It doesn't, is he going to retire in Ukraine or go somewhere else? It doesn't make sense, but it's stunning and brave to the woke crowd. The problem is, whenever they do this across media forms, they end up killing the story. The Sweet Baby Incorporated is a great example of what they've done to games, or what modern comics does to DC and Marvel, Image, and Dark Knight, or shows or movies. Because, there's a Dark Horse, the viewer isn't globalist. Most of them want a patriarchal nationalist perspective. The woke say, well, they'll support these themes, but they never do. Okay, that's the definition of virtue signaling, to say one thing on social media, but to do another IRL. You say you want these movies, but you don't go to the theater and pay for them, and so they lose money. But they don't go see Madam Web, which I went on a movie binge a couple weeks ago and saw a bunch of these crap movies. Madam Web, which actually wasn't absolutely horrible. The Marvels, Lady Terminator, Charlie's Angels, Mad Max, Vagina Edition, Ghostbusters, Birds of Prey, The Eternals, Black Widow, Black Adam. You get the idea. There's been probably 24 of these kind of like movies you could say these are woke movies, and they're also massive financial bombs. Where Rings of Power, Amazon's streaming show, which is, I don't know, in its third episode or third series a year or something, has bombed. Lord of the Rings from only 25 years ago was a massive success. They're lying to you. People hate girl power. They hate diversity because it's literally propaganda. It's the reason you can't get movies without diversity, because they will do well. I also saw some of the Jurassic World type of movies. I think one, Scarlett Johansson was the last one, and then not Ryan Reynolds, but the other guy who looks just like him, did a couple of these movies. And you watch those movies and you can't help but notice, like, this is really a little too much diversity. So you can't get a movie without it, because they don't want to allow the juxtaposition to say, oh, hey, people obviously prefer these movies without that kind of forced diversity, or diversity of any kind. I'm just saying forced to be nice, because people will say, let's just kill the diversity, just give us, European actors, and Hollywood wouldn't do it, which is just an admission that they're making more than movies. See, they want you to believe that, like, hey, look, women can be men, but they're not. That's stupid. I mean, you can keep repeating this stuff, but the further it gets from reality, the harder it is to convince people to take people along on the ride with you in this la la land where Scarlett Johansson is, beating up just a room full of dudes without superpowers. Look at the difference in role models that the machine is pushing. Everything is anti-natal, anti-family, especially, of course, anti-blonde family. And everything has to be race mix, where you can't get a movie without it, no matter how much you want it. But we're not that far away from being able to take a movie like one of the 3 Jurassic World movies and just, hey, AI, swap out the diversity. That will be easy to do, and like we're going to be trading these movies. I mean, this is like we're talking about like a few years away from being able to take a movie like that and make the characters who you want to make, including if you want to put Humphrey Bogart in a modern movie, you could do that. But like just as simple as something as like just getting diversity out of stories, it doesn't make sense, or making the protagonist and the antagonist the correct. To give it the verisimilitude it needs. I think you know what I'm saying with that. So everything has to be race mixed, where you just can't get a movie without it. The left painted themselves in a corner with increasing absurd theories, because nobody is allowed to call them developmentally disabled or point out a stupid idea if it comes from their special pets, who are at the peak of the Marxist oppression hierarchy. So you end up with wheelchairs in a magical environment from D&D, or non-whites in a European-based folklore, but never non-blacks in an African one. The Wakandan comics don't have Asians and Europeans in their Black Pantheon, which of course they shouldn't, but the same goes for Norse or Greek, Mediterranean, Scandinavian religions throughout Europe. Of there's no black Heimdall; he's the glowing white god of light, and the Valkyries are white, probably blonde and red haired. But according to Marvel, like that last Thor movie by Marvel, even just the opening scene was really peak Disney subversion. Or the Woman King. They're trying to tear down this god of these tribal people. It was what they do is like just biblically evil, or in this case, I don't know what the Norse equivalent would be. You get the Woman King, but the slave trading Dahomey tribe are actually fighting slavery. Nothing makes sense, but their goal is subversion. Their goal is not organic storytelling. So you end up with this, the abomination. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks to the new people over at Buy Me a Coffee and SubScribe Star, and I'll see you guys all next episode.